Happy Tuesday. This is a Tabernacle talk. We're going to be broadcasting from within. Today I have Hilde Lion with me. She is a 2-time Tabernacle alumni, which means that she joined the very first time I ran this Creative Residency. She renewed and ran through it for another 3 months, and now she's coming in for a 3rd time. She is here today to give us a little insight about the experience she had in the Creative Residency. And she's going to share the project that she created while she was in Tabernacle. So one of the things that amazes me about Hilde is that she's an excellent student. She's an avid reader. You always will see on her Instagram account a book that she's reading, usually 1, 2, 3 a day. And she's very articulate in the way that she expresses her work. And so for me to have someone who has been through Tabernacle and has created a beautiful product out of that experience in our Friday session calls brings a certain level of depth. It really helps shape the future of Tabernacle when you have beautiful alumni coming back in. Hilde's not alone. I have 3 other people who have also renewed now for the 2nd time within Tabernacle. And there she is. Hello, hello. While Hilde gets set up, I'm going to start with a little ritual that we do in the sessions, and that is an essential oil that we use. This is a share blend. So share is the 4th touchstone in Tabernacle. It's the last 3 weeks. Let's see if our sound is working. Okay, no rush. Oh, I heard something.
There we go. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I caught part of it.
Yeah, I'm excited to let everybody see what you created and hear a little bit about it. Before we get started, I just wanted to do a little ritual, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have an oil blend that is part of the new Tabernacle that we're launching in August. And this blend has a little bit of geranium in it, which is used by the Egyptians as a skin ointment. It brought a lot of warm glow. And so what I'm doing is I'm just taking the oil onto my fingertips, taking a deep inhale. And for those of you who don't have an essential oil close by, you can just close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And then we're just going to start by tapping around the hairline. So anywhere that feels good in your body, it's very intuitive. Bringing the sense of touch into the body. And I'm doing the sides of my head just to stimulate the hair follicles, release any worry or anxiousness I might have about going live. And then I'm going to move to my cheeks and just bring a little bit of energy into the cheeks, maybe alternating the tapping on the cheeks, the jaw.
I like to put oil on my throat sometimes if I know I'm going to be speaking.
Oh, that sounds really good. I might do that too. I'm going to put it behind the backs of my ears.
This is what we do in Tabernacle. We give each other good ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how do you feel now?
I feel more grounded. And I mean, it's invigorating to have my senses be part of my experience. Sometimes I forget that I have a body. Engaging with the smell by working with oils before calls, before working. I work with oils before the class that I teach. Is a way to remind myself that I'm also bringing my body into what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that does feel really good.
And then for sure, the energetics of oils have certain qualities. I'm working with an oil that I got when I went to a retreat in Oregon, which is how I met Johanna, who was in Tabernacle. It's from our Soul Lodge Earth Medicine gathering with Pixie Lighthorse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it brings a sense memory with it too.
Yeah, she mentions Joanna. Joanna's going to be a part of the program helping us understand what imprinting does and how to use our oils very consciously during the creative process. So because this one here is about the sharing week where we are living that artist life, whatever life we're living, we're sharing that. Oh, there's Joanna right now. She says, absolutely, I love this, Hilda. Very important. Yeah, so Joanna is going to also be within Tabernacle telling us a little bit about the imprinting with essential oils. But let's transition a moment. People are here to hear about your experience within Tabernacle, and you created a really amazing, unique product. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that product?
My product is a reflection of me, as I hope that anyone who joins Tabernacle feels full permission to water the seeds of the dream that they've been hoping to bring into fruition, whether that's within the 12 weeks or your timeline is a little different. All plants grow at different speeds. The seeds of my class, my online class called Some Other Place, were planted probably long, long ago in childhood with my love of books. I am in the space where I teach class. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm in a space full of books. There's also a skeleton. The other part of what I do is I'm a black belt Nia instructor, and I've studied Yoga Nidra and Primal Vinyasa. And part of my now self is very curious to combine Yoga Nidra, so beautiful rest practice, with reading. I love the dramatic tension of rest and reading. Those are two things we don't necessarily associate with each other in terms of a lot of book clubs that I've gone to. There's like a lot of talking. And I am so curious about how to move from trafficking and information. The thinking mind is a wonderful portal to some places, but there are other places. Like what lands in your heart when you read something? I mean, isn't that why we really read?
Yeah.
What lands in your gut? What lands in your soul? And what I'm doing is I'm weaving language from a book. In August, our book is Earth Keeper by N. Scott Momaday. It's a beautiful poetic book with drawings. It's only 80 pages. No one wants the feeling of having summer homework. So I'm very consciously choosing for the season with Yoga Nidra practices. So the meditations have language from the book in it, or themes from the book are in the Nidras. There's a beautiful synergy between the two. How'd I do, Erica?
Oh, see, I already told the audience you're going to be very articulate and you nailed it. I think it comes from as many books as you read. You just have a way with words.
It also comes from practice, practice, practice. One of the scariest moments for me in Tabernacle 1 was practicing my pitch. And like the way that your dream project doesn't come about overnight, Erica plants the seeds early on. She asks, what is your purpose? What is this project? So it starts with writing, journaling, wild exploration, weeks of following wherever your heart wants to go, and then reining it back in and getting to also the really practical matter of like, yeah, how do you practice an elevator pitch in a friendly group? How do you talk about this really precious, I don't want to say product even, or piece of yourself. Neither one is exactly right. It's both. But how do we have the right invitations that magnetize the right people to us that are wanting what we're offering? And that really only comes with practice. And I'm so grateful for being able to practice that skill in Tabernacle.
Yeah, I remember that she's referring to week 8 that we have in Tabernacle. It's called Locate Your Voice. And we practice presenting our offer. So what is it that you're offering? Why is it going to make my life better? And what do I have to do to buy it? And it feels like a very business way of looking at the work because my work and your work is has a spiritual aspect to it. And in Tabernacle, we focus on how we can't separate our spirituality from our creativity. And so we're trying to take something that really matters to us. Like it's a project that we feel that, I'll tell you one thing, everybody who comes into Tabernacle is over certified, over qualified, 200 hour, 300 hour, 500 hour. They've got, this certification and then they majored in this in college. And so now they're facing challenges that they never thought they would face. And we're all coming together within this cohort based design center where we can move methodically, understanding what is the purpose of my product, what does that matter to me, and then how does that product matter to the world. And to be able to articulate that, you either get your message across with clarity or you give them too much information and you confuse. And for those of us who want to take a leap of faith from our corporate job or something that is secure with a biweekly paycheck and go after something that feels near and dear to us, right? We need to be able to sell ourselves. And so you brought up a really good topic in Tabernacle 1 was, how do I not sell water to a fish? Like, how do I take this way of sharing, and does it have to talk to someone's pain point, or can it just be a pleasurable experience? So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your experience, because now you've launched some other place, you are hosting it and leading it. What was the sales process for you after gone through Tabernacle?
I played with both. I think one of the benefits of Tabernacle was exploring, how do I want to show up in my social media? What do personal email reach outs look like? So one of the best pieces of feedback you gave me in my initial version of talking about some other place was, don't make people burn too many calories attempting to understand what this is. And that really helped me distill down to language to reading and rest, books and naps. And I think one of my favorite pieces of writing, I view marketing as writing. I view it as art making. Otherwise, I don't want to do it. I have to tell myself, like, everything is a pleasure. And thinking of, so in my presentation slides that I emailed out, I was like, I'm going to make art with this. I'm going to let this be like poetry. It doesn't need to be complete sentences. It can be visual. It can be evocative. And I really loved the Facebook post that I wrote in about 10 minutes.
I loved it.
That was simply like, are you exhausted? Do you want more rest in August? Do you want time to read?
Yep. I'm going to pull it up so I can read it, because you even were addressing, you knew your client well enough. You knew that a lot of times people don't even read the book, and so they feel like they can't come to a book club because they didn't read it. And so what was your rebuttal to that objection?
This is maybe a more spiritual answer than you're expecting. Part of what draws me to wanting to host book circles is I want to heal people who have ever felt in trouble at school, who struggle with reading, who would rather listen to a book and feel like maybe a book club is not for them, who have had the experience of showing up at a book group, even with their friends over wine, and feeling like, oh, I didn't finish the book, or I didn't read the book. I have always loved creating an inclusive environment where if you want to be there, please come. We are going to be focused on the book, but there are so many ways to decenter this old model of, like, the teacher is the expert and the people in the group are being tested in some way. I really believe that you could carry the book around and not open it and come to group and get something out of it. That's the kind of experience I want to create for my people. And the reason is I have friends that I love and people that I know that are in that place that I want to feel included. It comes from being in relationship with all kinds of people, right? Like, as a movement instructor, I come from a place of, like, I was not the jock in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would be teaching dance. And so ultimately, I feel like my dance classes are for people who don't identify as dancers. And that really sitting deeply with what's the truth of my why is how I get to a place where I can say and know that I can deliver. Like, it's okay if you come and you haven't opened the book, please come anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done a lot of, that's my role. I've done a lot of the thinking about the book, where I can simply have us open a page for our discussion, have someone read it, and then have an idea of where we're going to go with it, or be totally open with where we're going to go with it, but know that there are really amazing possibilities in that one passage.
Oh, it's so good. You said a couple of things that really stood out to me. So you have to sit really deeply in yourself when you're creating an offering. And I'm curious, now that you wrote Yoga Nidra scripts based off the book, so there was a lot of writing that you had to do. And
So fun. It's my
yeah,
favorite part.
did you enjoy that?
Yeah, it's my favorite part. I mean, I know people are divided on whether to work with scripts in Yoga Nidra or not. For me, for now, in relationship with books, it's really helpful to have passages, to really have a plan for where I want to go. But yeah, it's my favorite part. I mean, let's not forget, that's the whole point of offering a product, is to enjoy being in the doing,
Mm-hmm.
to enjoy being in the moment, not for some future result, not for the money, not for what the next class sign up is going to be, but to have the experience of whatever your offering is. And for me, it's being with a group of people focused on one thing in the moment, rest. One thing in the moment, inviting books into our lives.
Kevin is cheering us on.
The support from Tabernacle alums has been so meaningful to me. It has made me feel like this is one thing I wanted to talk about, Erica, was part of the journey for me, part of the pain point that I was looking to solve by taking Tabernacle was, how do I pivot after the pandemic? How do I pivot into a new version of something that I'd been doing in another form? In 2018, I had a book circle, but it was in person. It worked with Shamanic Journey, which I still love, but that felt very difficult to explain to people at the time. And I loved the idea of a little more structure. People had trouble dropping in so quickly with that practice. And then I sort of shifted. I took a break from leading that circle and shifted into focusing on the movement part of my business. And then when in-person exercise classes ended and in-person gatherings weren't possible, it took a long time in my cocoon to think about, wow, I get to step in really mindfully and intentionally into whatever the next thing I do is. But I got kind of stuck there. Mm-hmm. And one of the benefits for me for Tabernacle was, in this moment in time, it's a time of reevaluation for a lot of people. Well, what do I want to be teaching now? If I could do it all over again, how would I start? Mm-hmm. So amazing for that.
Yeah, then we even leave time for that. So do you have to have an idea of what you want to create when you come into Tabernacle? And yes, it's helpful to know that, but even if you're still not clear, we're going to spend 1, 2, and 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks, figuring out the direction, the purpose, and the discovery of what your product is, and then figure out what else is out there it could be.
Oh, the group is great. The group is so great with that in terms of hearing, like, here's what I see. Here's what I am hearing you're passionate about. Here's the project that I would want to take. Like, it's always a great moment in Tabernacle when someone starts sharing and they start out a little unsure and then they get rolling and there's this pregnant pause and someone says, I would take that class. Oh.
Yeah, I would definitely take your class. And I do. I've taken many of the students who have gone through Tabernacle and seen them exhibit new ways of expressing themselves and building themselves. But I wanted to ask you a question before I forget about it. When When you got that nudge from me, like, why not now? What was the one thing? Because we spoke on the phone. I remember I was working at Starbucks that day, and I got a referral. You called me. We talked on the phone, and then you signed up like immediately right afterwards. It was
Yeah.
like a total yes. And what was that thing inside of you that said, yes, now's the time? Because Tabernacle moves pretty quickly. I mean, it's 12 weeks, although you don't have to create a product within those 12 weeks. You can renew and take, you know, 6 months instead of 3 months, which many people have done. And now you're entering back into Tabernacle because now that you've done that and launched it, you want support running the product that you've done and that emotional support.
Oh,
So
100%. And as an aside, all the amazing organizational tools have gone out the window. And I'm like, okay, now I need to sit down and like reorganize my files. There is always the aspect on version 1 of building the jet plane as you're flying it. And I can't wait to revisit some of the engineering pieces of building a class. But the thing that made me, your question is, what made me say yes?
mm-hmm.
And while absolutely you can come into Tabernacle very open, I had a really specific project. I wanted to birth. And I remember towards the end of the call, you asked me, what would you like to have happen? And I said, can I launch this class? It didn't have a name yet, but I did have a pretty clear vision of how it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Could I launch this class in 12 weeks? And you said, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, great. That is worth any amount of money to me for this idea that I've been sitting on for years, that I felt like was the magic key to integrating all of the pieces of myself in terms of, I don't think I'm unique in that I'm interested in a lot of different things. A lot of the entrepreneurs that I meet or movement instructors that I meet actually have a million things they could or should be teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that I've always had is, well, how does it all tie together? I know it ties together and that like I'm unique and it makes sense to me, but is there a way that it ties together for other people? And I had faith that if I was open to the process, I would figure out how to tie it all together. That was one of the questions that I came with. And it was really only through one of my major aha moments in Tabernacle was during the week that we meet with other people in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to someone with more of a design background. And she said, well, one of Erica's gifts is she's a designer, and designers iterate. Simply start making versions of what it is that you want to do. And for me, that was one of the big selling points. In our conversation, the other click, and I think you said this was a click too, Erica, is I got on a side path about how I relate to tarot and oracle cards. That rather than prognosticating something about the future, I see them as a mirror. And that especially now in modern times, we have very sophisticated visual vocabularies. And we don't even necessarily need a book to understand symbology in these kinds of cards. We're such amazing visual learners and understanders. That's the beauty of phone and Netflix and the language of cinema and images. And you said, I do that. And I had ordered your book, which is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And this piece of visual thinking, design thinking, was something I had a lot of curiosity about. And I can show you how it gave me permission to create for my class. So you might think when talking about a book group, I'm writing an outline on my computer. No, like this is what I did. I used a really big piece of paper and I let myself draw pictures. I'm not an artist, but I made a little index of all the drawings in the book. And it was really important to me that my hand drew them. That came from Tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
And before Tabernacle even began, on an intuitive level, I knew this is what I needed. I also needed a certain amount of visual, out of the box encouragement.
One of your questions is like, what images can I use to signal the right audience to earn extra income? And that's like, when I remember that the image is like, we wanted to figure out images that was going to signal the audience who you wanted to attract. And there's a visual thinking module in Tabernacle week 4. We talk about sketching. We talk about what it means to use frameworks and processes and systems and line charts to depict your plan that you have for your students or for your audience to move through. And then we even get into the mood board aspects of it. And Hilda sent me, I remember when she sent me her mood board, I was so excited. She made it in Canva, but it was finally the name landed on it because we were looking for the name. And then it's always that aha moment where it's like, this is it. And there's no question. Your whole body is that resounding yes. Some other place. This is the name of it. And then you found a hammock with a book that was reading it. You found this very cosmic, expansive sky that was open to represent the Nidra experience of it. We found fonts. We understood the process that they were going to go through. You had 3 circles to depict the 3 different steps within your book club that you were going to do: discussion, sharing, and rest, right?
The greatest gift to have a facilitator who knows me so well. I mean, this is one of the other gifts of Tabernacle. If you want to be known, if you want to be understood, Erica is so all in.
Thank you.
My other teacher is like, and in her presentation, here's what it looked like. Sorry to interrupt you, but I mean the exquisite love and care. And then the great gift is I had something I could work with to send in emails. I sent a version of that mood board. Wasn't just because that mood board became a really helpful resource for me to show as much as I say, to show the feeling, to evoke the sensations. I also video. I would have never done that had we not practiced those skills.
That was nice. So this I want to touch on because there's a lot of people who are applying to Tabernacle and they come in there and they say, I don't have a social media account, or I hate social media, I don't want to be on there. When you do a vision board or a mood board, you could do like Hilda and send out an email to your future clients or future audience. Even if you don't have a newsletter or subscription-based bank, you send it out and it becomes word of mouth. And then she also did an invitation on Vimeo talking about her reasons why she wanted to create the book or create this sharing. I'm sorry, I'm going to get the wrong name.
Book Circle?
Book Circle. Yeah. Yeah. And I pulled up your quote here. It says, "Hi, I'm teaching again. This is my dream project, an online book circle that combines reading and rest for the bookish and the exhausted, for those seeking community, rest, and wisdom, for anybody who has a pile of unread books and anybody who struggles to finish books for book clubs, for anyone who has been curious about meditation but wishes they could just lay down." This is what's so good because those pain points we identify in the client interviews that we go for. We try to understand what's stopping someone from joining a book club, what's stopping someone from meditating. Well, what if you were doing it laying down? These are points that you could address, which gets people to go from that place of being very contracted into that place of being very expansive and open to the idea and experience that you're offering.
Yeah, I was so resistant. I mean, I am the kind of person who is usually walks through life saying, I want to know what you're for, not what you're against. And maybe pain point needs to be called something else, like oriented.
Say it again, because I'm interested in a new word than pain point.
Solutions oriented.
Okay. Because, I mean, you're flipping the narrative. You're looking for the pain or the block or the limitation or the challenge, and then you're offering a solution. So you're really doing, that's the service, right? Your product is always a service. Your offering is always a service. I understand where you're at. I've been where you've at, and this is an experience that I've created that I think could really bring a lot of joy. And it's been a big shift for me as the creator of Tabernacle, because my whole background is in retreats, just 90-minute classes or doing something that is like a workshop based. And it was always a pleasurable based product. Come to my workshop, enjoy this retreat, luxury. Now that I'm in Tabernacle, it's like I need to get results. I need to make sure that I'm delivering what I'm promising. And so that's why I'm so grateful for Hilda, because she's like the perfect example of someone who has moved through the residency and is going to continue to use the residency as her place of refuge. Because there's a lot of shadow stuff that comes up when we are working on our creative work. It's a deeply personal voyage that highlights your vulnerabilities. It makes you procrastinate, zone out. And I will be completely transparent. I would not be offering Tabernacle if I didn't have people committed and paid, because it does make me feel like what the heck am I doing? And then you have that creative work in that business that you're running, but then you also have all these other pieces happening in your home life. And I think what Tabernacle was for me, even as I was the one who was directing it, it was a place to show up and be held as a leader who is really doing everything I can to make a difference in the world and to help people become their best version of themselves, and then let that inspire someone else. What do you feel was your shadow stuff? And if you had shadow stuff as you created your offering?
Just a light conversation about shadow. When I think of shadow, I think of maybe the places in myself where additional healing might be called for.
Mm.
For me, those places might include something you touched on, recognizing that the world and no one in my family is going to lay out the perfect conditions for me to create. And I do get stuck sometimes in resentment around like the first 2 weeks of my class. My spouse was traveling for work. We had a new kitten that had to be kept separate from the rest of the household. Son hit a nadir on his summer homework. And I had this like, why me? The universe really doesn't want me to do this. Or why does it have to be so difficult? I know that's not true, but that for
Yeah.
sure.
But that's the negative script that gets activated
Yeah.
when you're doing that. So, and I just saw that we're like close on time. We're already a
So
minute mark, but continue to go because this is really, really important.
one, but I think we're at a good place in the conversation. I think the other shadow side that came up was maybe I expected that once I put an offering out into the world, I would feel proud of myself. I would feel uncomplicated joy. I would be happy. And the reality is much more complicated for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have asked myself like, well, why did I wait so long? Or this isn't enough. Or what is the point of doing a book circle really? I mean, it feels very vulnerable to talk about this. My class is still going on, and I don't want the people in my class to think that I don't feel joy and gratitude and incredible pleasure, and that I'm not fully invested in what I'm doing. And the reality is, as facilitators, we're human. And Tabernacle is a space to have kind of a container of confidentiality and trust and be able to say, like, yeah, I launched my class and I kind of wish I hadn't. Now I feel overwhelmed. It's a place where I can clear that overwhelm so that I don't bring it into my class. I don't want to. But it's real, it's authentic, and that's also part of being a teacher, is being really strong anchor, but also not pretending to be a guru that has it all figured out. So those would be the two shadows of space for creative work, and a little bit of why meism, and I should be doing more than I am.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to, in the next round of Tabernacle, exploring what's next. I'm so excited to have a supportive container to iterate within. Again, like, what is the next? Of course, I want to know, my students want to know, well, what is the next version of this class?
Mm-hmm.
When can I take it again? What's the book going to be? What are the experiences going to be? How is it going to be different? How's it going to be the same? So excited
Yeah.
about support around that process. So say you're someone who has taught something before, but you want to evolve it. I think Tabernacle is relevant for you too.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'm very eager too to see the group that's going to come, the coherency of all of us coming together. When I look at the difference between the first tabernacle, the second tabernacle, and the third tabernacle, personally, I feel very prepared for this round. I feel like I've worked the kinks out. I've streamlined a lot of the ups and downs that the creative process brings. And I've got solid material that I can now make more concise and more potent, so that our Friday calls really are a cohort based design. Like, present your idea. What about this? How about that? Did you think about this? And sharing screens, and then doing breakout rooms and building those relationships, which, who knows, could eventually become collaborations down the line. I mean, we've already started talking about people within Tabernacle joining forces and making their products even stronger. So I'm really excited that this is becoming something, the future of Tabernacle is becoming something way more rich than I ever first initiated. And the message that I want to get across to everyone today is that if you have a product idea, but you're not quite sure how to begin it, how to continue it, how to complete it, and how to share it, Tabernacle is an invitation to apply. Let me know what you want to create, and let's see if you and I are a match. And Hilda's going to be in there as well, talking about the next rendition of Some Other Place. I know you're going to be doing Entangled Life. So we did Earthkeeper for the first book, Entangled Life for the second one.
Mushrooms, which are having a moment.
We are having a moment.
That expands our binary perspectives on the biological world, our connection with each other and with the natural world. So a little bit of a theme. I do tend to choose nonfiction books for these circles. No spoilers in those, so come as you are.
Yeah. So for those of you who missed the first Earthkeeper book, they can join now for Entangled Life just by connecting with you on Instagram.
Start by following me on Instagram, and then I'll have details of when the next circle starts. I think it'll be sometime in October.
It's a great time for a mushroom book.
I think so. I think so. And I want to thank everyone who is on this call. I can't see everyone who has joined, but I do know that Kevin was here for a while, my friend Jennifer, who lives in France, Sarah, who was in Earthkeeper. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, everyone. And if you do want to join Tabernacle, head to my website, jagoyoga.com, and you'll see an application to apply. You'll fill out all your details, book a call that's good for you. We are beginning on August 26th. And if you don't make it into that cohort, we're going to be running the next one again in September. So be sure to put your application in and get one of those spots. It's limited to anywhere from 12 to 15 people, depending on who renews. And it is a space for you to build your creative confidence, figure out the potential you have inside, and get yourself earning money on the products and ideas that you have. Thank you, Hilda, so much for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, you guys, I'll see you again. Bye.